Unreal's VR template comes with one font called Roboto, you may have noticed, but maybe you want your game to have a little more personality. You might want some different types of fonts. My game has Carnival. Here I was trying for sort of a wood block number on the cubes. And to do that, I had to import some fonts, and I'll show you how to do that. I don't really know that much about fonts, so this is extremely basic. It's just how to get a new font and display it in either a widget or a text render component. I'll show both of those. For these cubes, I use text render components. Those are a little more optimized, and on that sort of big blue scoreboard over there, that uses a widget because there are images and some text. You can get fonts from sites like dafont.com. There's fontspace.com. I think on this one you have to be aware of the license. Some of them are just personal use and some are 100% free. Google Fonts is a good source too, and you can read for yourself, but you can see open source without cost, and you can look into the specific license conditions. Here you can type whatever you want, something that might appear in your game or in the style of your game. Oh, lacquer. I don't think I would use it actually for a carnival sign, but maybe for some graffiti somewhere this could look good. Let me get this. Download. It's going to be a zip file, so extract that. And it'll be a .ttf. Double click that and install. And then you can import the font. Would you like to create a new font asset using the imported font face? Yes. Answer yes to that. At this point, we can already use the font if we just want to create a widget blueprint. Widget blueprint. I don't know. Handwriting. I don't know. And then, all right, this is a canvas. I set up my widgets to put the canvas automatically. If you don't, you can drag a canvas over. This isn't a tutorial on how to do widgets. I just want to show you that you can use that font already. I can put a text block here, and I believe, all right, this is going to be in Roboto, so you can see that is the font we have going on here, which is not particularly exciting. You can change what it says. 2 tickets to play. I don't know what this would say. We can center that. All right, so we have Roboto, which does not look very fun. Here's my lacquer. All right, that's pretty neat. Now, I don't think I can do bold or anything with that. Yeah, you can see with Roboto you can do bold, italic, but this font, we don't have any options. I think you can set that up separately, but let's keep this simple for now. All right, I'm just gonna anchor this to where? The top center maybe. And let me make the font much, whoa, not that big. That big maybe. Let's see how this goes. Here I've made a blueprint actor, it's a cube that I fashioned into sort of billboard shape and decided to put a brick texture on it. And so what I can do now is add a widget component, and let's see, maybe we'll bring it forward a little for now. Let's see, we can choose our widget class here. What did I call that? Handwriting. Okay, and that's facing the wrong way. Let's fix that. Undo this, probably not here. Now that scale is really big, so I'm gonna have to fix that. I think, is that down here, draw size? Obviously I've made the font way too big, and the widget might be too big. This you can change to like, oh wait, no, I meant 1,000. All right, there we go. Now it's wide enough. And all right, let's see how that looks. Okay, now it looks like we're casting a shadow because the text is not flush against the cube. So you can type it in manually. That's better. I was told that a text render component is actually more optimized to use than a widget. So let's get rid of this widget and see if we can add text render. Okay. I'm not sure if I have to do that or not. Make it a child. All right, so now if we try to get a different font, well, let's see what we have so far. Of course, I've got to rotate this thing. Hello. Do it this way then. And drag it forward. Okay, here we go. All right, now we're going to try to get a different font. Here's lacquer. And where is it? You just can't see it because it's not working. All right, what do we have to do? You can click in and modify this one, but since this form of the font works with widgets, I'm just going to leave that alone, and I'm going to create, under user interface, a font. And I will call this font. I guess I'll just keep calling it lacquer actually, because it can get confusing if you change the name. You'll see why later. All right, add a font, and then I'm gonna find lacquer. And over here, I've got to change from runtime to offline. Yes, I want to proceed. And then here things are looking very old school. So you have to scroll down here and find your font. So I have to find lacquer, which is here. And by the way, if you've changed the name of your font, it's still going to be the old name in here, which is why this is, I think, when you installed it, it got stuck with that name. So I just don't change the name or I'll get confused. And it looks like here I can choose bold, oblique. And then you can get underline or strikeout, but I'm just going to leave it as regular. I'm going to increase the font size to 20. And that looks good. Somebody said to change this to 512 by 512, and I will just trust that person. This is very important. Use distance field alpha. You have to check that. And I think later on, if the font doesn't look that good, you can up this distance field scale factor to 32, and you can up this scaling factor maybe to like 1.5. That's what an AI told me anyway. I didn't have to do that though because the font looked good. I think this is everything we need to do. See, but here, I don't know, enable bold, enable italic. This is stuff you might want to try. I thought I tried it before and it didn't work, but I haven't spent too much time on the fonts yet. All right, then this is also very important because I always forget this. You have to right click down here and re-import. And give it a little while. Okay, I think it's done. Now I noticed, at least on my computer, if I click here again, it shows like kind of blurry font, and that means it worked. I don't know why, but that when that happens, that's a good sign usually. I know I already added a text render component before, but I'm going to do it again just to illustrate that you don't want to add it as a subcomponent quite yet, because if you do this, watch this. Look at how squished the text is here, because I guess it's taken on the transforms of the cube, so it's all squished. So don't do that. When you add it up here at the root, and then it looks correct. And then after you do that, you can drag it as a sub-component. All right, let me just place this closer to the brick wall. And the font is Roboto, and it is called actually Roboto distance field. If you remember, we had to set our font to distance field. I don't know what that means exactly. And the text material is default, text material opaque. That's fine, you can leave that as is. One thing that you can do is you can plug the vertex color into emissive if you want it to glow a bit. I don't know if you saw that, but that would be your lettering, and then yeah, you can give it a glow. All right, so I want to use my new font. Let me click here then on the font and find lacquer. There we go. And now it displays properly because of all the settings we changed to offline and yada yada. And then, yeah, you can adjust your alignment, probably center it, and you can change the color. In my game, I'm going to need an underline version of the font as well, because I'm using numbers, and the numbers 6 and 9 might look identical depending if the coconut is upside down or not. So I want to get an underline version of the font so the player can see which number they're dealing with. Let's re-import the lacquer font just to show if I want to get an underline. That did work. A lacquer, may as well get bold and underline. And I guess I'll do this again. I think that might be about the size of this. I'm not sure. All right, let's see. Yeah, that worked. You can also increase the font size here, the world size. I don't know which is better to do. I'll have to look that up. So yeah, that is a weird kind of underline. It's not great. It's like per character, it looks like, and the spaces as well. But that'll work for my numbers. I noticed in VR that sometimes at a distance from the font, it would look sort of jittery or twitchy, like an anti-aliasing type of problem. I think that might just be the nature of VR, though. It just doesn't render that precisely, whether it's a widget or a text render component. You can end up baking the textures or the fonts into dynamic materials. I don't really want to be bothered with having to learn how to do that. So for now, I'm just using little tricks like this sign here. I just put it behind the booth so the player can't really get that far from it. There's a rock wall here, and that way it's never going to look jittery. And I saved myself a whole lot of time by doing it that way. Another trick you can use to deal with the shaky looking jittery font from a distance is just play with different colors and different fonts. And like I'm just testing out here. I used to have like a dark brown cube with a white font, and it looked pretty jittery from far away. But I think if I go with these types of colors, like this, whatever, lime green or something, and a pink against a coconut, it doesn't seem to look that bad. So just try different little ways to improve the look of your font. The text render component is a little more optimized than the widget, but the widget does allow you to do a little bit more with your font. Let's take a look. Like I said, I'm not an expert on fonts at all. I'm kind of just learning this for the first time in Unreal. The text render component, you can change the color, and you could adjust the spacing like that. And maybe that's kind of about it. And I did also notice that the color is kind of weird. When you try to change it, it sort of jumps from one color to another. I don't know if that's just a glitch or if there's a reason for that. And then sometimes it also doesn't happen. So it's a little smoother. I don't know what's going on there. The widget, on the other hand, oh, and also the text render, you can change your text right here. The widget, on the other hand, refers to your widget blueprint. So you will have to open that up to make changes. You can change what the text says. You can change the color. And the one thing that I thought was interesting is this outline you can do. Let's change the size. All right, it's in black, so it's kind of hard to see. That's probably the color. Well, what would I use? Let's compile. Yeah, I mean, that doesn't look great, but you get the idea of how that could be helpful to make your font stand out against maybe a more complicated background with different colors in it or something like that. For text render components, if you want to assign the text in a blueprint, we won't get too into it, but it's fairly simple. You would just, I have assigned integer numbers to the 12 coconuts, and I can just set the text to that number. Fairly simple. And these are just references to my text render components. I have 4 of them on the coconut. It used to be a cube, and I just dragged from here. These are the components that I have on my coconut. And I think it's the same thing for widgets as well. Let's see. This thing is kind of a mess. But yeah, it looks like these are my text widgets, and then, yeah, just set text.
Koodusta.